I haven't been doing anything exciting though, so I don't know.
Oh shit, it's Man Sharpens Man, and Jen has been doing nothing exciting. This is episode number 29, and welcome back. And like promised on Man Sharpens Man, this is one of the things I've been promising is to bring a woman so they know it's not some kind of misogynistic party, Man Sharpens Man, or some kind of sausage fest. Well, I needed to have a girl on the show. So now I have Jen Culberson. Am I saying your last name right?
Yeah?
Damn, pretty good. A lot of people mispronounce it, I bet, don't they?
Yeah.
Tell them hi.
Hi.
And tell them what you are.
I am Jen Culberson, and as promised, there is a female in the house.
Yes, she's a local comic and artist.
Yes.
And what do you think about being a female comic in Traverse City, Jen?
I like it.
I like it too. You do a good thing. You bring a good kind of style. She's kind of crazy. You're kind of crazy. I'm glad you're on my podcast, though. I've had Dave Graves now. I had little Charlie on. Me and Charlie did a late night episode, and we had smoked a lot of weed, and it was not. It was definitely not as great as it could have been, but it was all right. It was all right. But Charlie, he was tired. I was tired. I think we both didn't have much energy, but we pushed the issue. We forced it. We did a late night episode.
Good.
And then the episode I did with Dave, pretty nice. But my computer crashed in the middle of it. But today, I don't think my computer's going to crash, Jen. I think I got things covered.
Good.
Jen also works at the studio where a lot of the comedy shows that go on in Traverse City are at. I was just asking her about that because I was trying to get some of the behind the scenes kind of how it works. What if I wanted to rent it? Could I rent that place and just like rent it?
Yeah, you could
I could rent
like
the whole
rent
hall?
it and have a show or do
And
whatever
have a
you
show or
wanted
whatever
there.
I wanted? Not whatever
You
I
could
wanted.
do well. You could
That guy got pissed because I told a couple people to buy some booze and take it in last
not
night.
whatever. You couldn't do whatever you wanted, but you could rent it and
Like put a
have
show on or
you
something.
could put a show on, a comedy show or a music show or a burlesque show or whatever kind of show you felt
Shake
like.
my moobs for the mugs.
That's right.
Well, I don't want to rent it, but I was curious about it. That's why I was, because it's behind the scenes shit. That's the thing I need to pay more attention to. The comedy, I like making jokes and yuck. I don't know anything about getting booked and how the shows work and shit like that. I definitely wouldn't want to be the guy renting the hall and all that crap.
Yeah.
But I guess there's probably a few bucks in it, but it's not the bucks I want to make. I just like making the jokes. That's what I'd like to make is the jokes.
Jokes.
Joke. That's all
Jokes.
it is.
Jokes.
That's all it is. You didn't do no time last night, did you?
No, I didn't do any time last night.
You got to start getting on stage more, Jen.
I know. I'm really, really bad at booking myself.
Quit that. You'll get old like me before you know it, and then you won't have your youth anymore. You got to start now.
I'm really bad at booking myself, so that's one thing I need to get better at. But I'm
You showed up for the podcast.
You showed up for the podcast.
All 2.5 listeners we have.
That's right.
No, Man Sharpens Man does pretty good once in a while whenever I promote it right, produce it right, make it sound right. The last one I put out with Dave was too quiet, so I'm going to have to go rip it back off the internet, make it louder, some shit. Really sucks.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah, but whatever. See, that's what this show is about. It's about me getting better at shit.
Yeah.
And then the show's gotten better. I've gotten better, like, putting it on, blah, blah, blah. I've gotten better at the whole thing a little bit. I kind of got thrown for a loop because I had Dave Basie as my co-host. See, what it was going to be is I was going to have Dave Basie, and I was going to kind of, like, sharpen him. He was going to sharpen me. I was going to have a co-host, but then the motherfucker moved away.
Yeah.
He abruptly moved on me. It was good to see him yesterday, though.
Yeah, it was.
Good to see him.
I like seeing him when he comes to town.
Isn't it better now that he doesn't live here? It's like I'm way happier to see you now, motherfucker. You only want to sleep on my couch once every 2 months instead of for 2 months straight. No, it was funny on the one I did with Dave Graves. I was joking. I was like, "Don't worry, your friends and family don't listen to this shit. You can talk shit about them on here. They're not gonna hear this. This isn't gonna hit the mainstream media or nothing." So I took Jen around and showed her the Man Sharpens Man studios. We went and showed her my tree fort.
Yeah, the tree fort is pretty kick-ass.
I don't know if my listeners know I have a tree fort, but I got a Michael Jackson-esque tree fort. Trying to recapture my youth or something, I don't know. But me and my son built it. It was fun. Yeah, it's funner building it than anything. We barely ever go down there. That's the only reason we go down there is just like show it and climb up in it, slide down the slide once.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
It's over the river.
It's got a slide with a little river going underneath of it.
Yeah, it's a little getaway. It's a good place to go to smoke weed.
Yeah.
It's the perfect weed smoking spot. Man Sharpens Man's very weed friendly. Weed friendly show. We're 420 friendly here. Did you see that fucking Donald Trump has endorsed Bill Schuette. You know who Bill Schuette is? Our
No.
Attorney General.
Yes.
He's
Okay.
the douchebag that's trying to like shut down all the weed stores, and he's always going around like he's literally the problem. And now old fucking orange hair has fucking adopted him or whatever, but said he was a
Uh,
good choice. I don't think it helps you now to have Trump endorse you.
no, I don't think that's a good thing.
No, I feel like it'll hurt you now.
Yeah.
But, maybe. Some people still like him. There was some little kid mowing his grass the other day. Did you see that news story?
No.
Yeah, some little kid wrote him and said he had a local business in Washington there, and he wanted to know if he could mow the grass. And so, Donald Trump being the fucking press, I'm sure he only did it for publicity, but of course he doesn't give a shit. They got groundskeepers.
Right.
So he let the kid show up and help the groundskeepers for the day and paid him, and they did a photo shoot with him and shit. And it was adorable. It's like, ugh.
No, I missed that.
Yeah. He does some positive stuff. Like, I try to look at him a little bit positive. I try to see the good in people. I'm like that. Like, it's sometimes you have to be like that. Like, that's one thing that I'm like a dog. You know how, like, if you kick a dog, it'll still, like, come back to you with his head down to get
Yes.
petted again? I've always been like that. Because, like, I find a lot of times, like, even, like getting into comedy. Like, you see the group of people that does comedy. They're all good people, and I like them.
Yeah.
But when I first approached this group, I got kicked a lot. Not like in a real bad way, but you know how you can take shit personal that ain't personal and stuff
Yeah.
when you first meet people.
Absolutely.
So I mean, like if you approach life like a kicked dog, you just keep coming back. Eventually, showing love, you'll see the love that's already there. Like most people ain't kicking you; you just think it's kicks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I approach things. Kind of like my dog. I learn a lot from my fucking animals. I do
You can
comedy
learn
about
a
it.
lot from your animals.
You do learn a lot from your animals.
Yeah,
What do you
you
think
do.
of my Sphinx cats?
They're pretty great. I'm looking at one right now.
They're always on the show. The show I did with Charlie, one of them kept getting up by the mic and purring. You can actually hear it purring in the track. It sounds like some kind of weird. It's like a weirdo, but it's a purr. It's just the cat purring into the microphone because
That's
it wants to
great.
be on the show. I used to do the shows out in the garage, out there with my male cat, but then he tried to face rape me. So now I no longer do them
No
in the
more.
garage. No more.
No more garage.
No more garage. So what, Jen, let me ask you, what are your ultimate goals in comedy? I don't ask, see, I got comics on the show. I want to ask you some comic questions. We'll bring up some comic talking shit.
I don't know. I'd like to perform more. And I'd like to expand my set, like write more material. I guess that's maybe 2 goals.
I think the only thing between you and more material is just air and opportunity. I think you just haven't put paper to pen, basically.
I think so, and
Because you're creative enough, just like right now, you could just sit down and write something and it would be funny. Because all you have to do is get up there and say it once you write it. I mean, you could sit and write something right now. So that's setting up the dates. I can see. I'm the same way. Like trying to travel and make sure your car's in order. And they're not paying. Like
Yeah.
you get paid you get paid a little bit, but it ain't covering shit.
Gas
it ain't covering
and
nothing.
dinner
Yeah,
and
it ain't covering none of it. So
yeah, if
just,
you have to stay in a hotel.
yeah, but it scratches the surface once in a while. But I'm doing some traveling. I'm going the 27th to Lansing to do the Future of Comedy show,
Nice.
which is cool. And I want to go to Grand Rapids. That Dr. Grins is starting to get pretty big. I really want to try to get in there. Because my comedy is real vulgar. I swear and do a lot of inappropriate shit. And I think downstate audience, like the people up here like me, which is really cool. I'm glad they like me. But I feel like downstate.
It'd be more.
Yeah, I feel like I can ring more bells down there.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping. But you never know. It's like a dream, whatever. To be honest, it's like the first time I've ever actually pursued like a dream in my life. So I kind of like, as gay and corny as that sounds, comedy.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, I really have always wanted to do it. Isn't she crazy? Watch what she does. For people, I need to get this on video so people can see that my pink cat just launched from the ground up onto my shoulder.
Yeah,
and she's about to wear herself on me like a boa.
Like a parrot.
Yep, she'll lay down like a little feather boa and just kind of get petted. Here, we'll try to get the mic up and get her.
Oh, she's purring.
Chime in with that purr there, pink cat. I got the mic right to her dirty neck. We'll see how that recorded. We'll maybe work my fucking editing skills. Jen's husband. What's your husband's name? I keep forgetting.
Mike.
Mike knows how to do a little bit of editing and stuff, so I'm going to get a hold of Mike and see if he will help me. I need to learn more about editing.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that people assume about prison is they think you go to prison. People on my show, of course, know I've been to prison. It's kind of part of the show. Whatever. you go to prison and you think you got a free education and shit. They do not give you a free education. That was one thing that they really fucked me on, because I went in there when I was 17 and I got out when I was 28. Like, that shit was like being frozen time.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden I get out and there's phones everywhere and this crazy shit. Like, the world had moved into a weird spot, from because I went in 94 and got out in 2004. And 2004 was
Things
the
were
tip.
big different.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, majorly different. From...
Majorly. But it was kind of cool in a lot of ways, because, I mean, not being in prison. I mean, I always had fun being in prison. I was always happy every day, but not cool. But, like, being able to have that gap, because it makes for some funny shit. It does. And there's some funny fucking stories there,
Yeah.
because I did not understand the world when I first got back to it. You just met my crazy mom.
Yeah.
When I first got out, she's like, hey, I already set it up for you, but you have a email account now.
And you're probably like, what the fuck?
Hell yeah, I didn't even know what email
What
was.
is an
I had
email?
never even heard of it, because, you know, the computer was out when I went in. It wasn't like Abacus's was out in 94. There was computers. You could even get a laptop. But the internet was really nothing.
Yeah.
It was just some kind of dork thing. You could talk to NASA and figure out whether or not a fucking lunar eclipse was happening or something. Like, the internet
Right.
sucked back then, basically. But so she's like, yeah, I got you this email. And I'm like, oh, I don't really know what that is. And she's like, well, it's another form of mail. And, like, we grew up poor, so she basically never even paid the fucking bills. We always just threw our mail away. It was just like old hospital bills from when I was born and shit. So it's like, why do you want another bunch of mail you got to throw away? Now you got to throw.
Right.
And I turned out being right, because most people have trouble deleting their mail now. But so anyhow, she's like, I set you up a mail. And then she's going to tell me, she says, hey, I want to tell you what your email address is. Sit down at the computer, because she's trying to teach me this shit. She's trying to show me how things go, because right at the time, like, checking your email and sending emails was kind of a popular little gig. So she's like, sits me down at the computer and she says, all right, here's your email address. You're going to type it in. And she says, it's littlejohn226 at Hotmail. And as soon as she said Hotmail, I thought M-A-L-E, like hot mail. And I'm like, whoa, Mom. I thought,
what kind of email did you get?
yeah, I'm like, is this some kind of dating email? Is this a dating email site or something? Like, I don't know what email. I don't know what. I just think she's trying to, like, get me hooked up already. It's like, Mom, I'll find my own girls. I don't want whatever kind of Christian website you're trying to fucking put me on. I didn't even know what it was, but it was just an email address in the end. And it's pretty... Like, there was definitely some culture shock. Yeah, no, it was definitely... And the video games. Oh, the video games.
Yeah, video
They've become
games
amazing.
came a long way in 10 years.
Yep, I went in with Super Nintendo and got out. It was PS2 already. And that shit was amazing to me. I could play Grand Theft Auto. I couldn't play it, though. That, like, the technology jump, it made me shy away. That's one of the reasons that I'm not, like, up on computers right now, is because... having that big 10-year gap, I kind of like at first was like, is it worth even trying to catch up? Maybe these things won't stay cool forever. but you know, computers are still cool.
Computers are so cool.
People are still using them all the time. So what else do you do, Jen? Tell the people what you do. What do you do in life? What is your art that you do? You rent a spot at the studio. What kind of art are you making right now?
My studio is called Cerebral Confection. I paint. I do mixed media and
mixed media
abstract art.
is like a 3-dimensional type.
It's like a combination of different mediums. Like, you might use oil paint and collage and acrylic paint all in one.
Right.
All in one piece of work.
I see what you're saying.
So there's a bunch of different mediums that you're using together. And I think there's technically a certain number of mediums that are supposed to be present before it's officially considered mixed media. But I'm not exactly sure how many. I think it's like 3 or 4 or something. I'm not sure. I'm not an art student.
Yeah.
I'm self-taught. I just paint.
Yeah, we won't make you have to know the number and be all bourgeois. You can have 7, 3... It's like you could do a haiku and just pretend like it's the right number of syllables. There once was a man from Nantucket. His name was Will, and he said, fuck it. I'm gonna have young Will on the show one of these days. He keeps missing out. Crazy Will, I gotta have him on the show. It'll be some funny shit. I want to have all the comics eventually. All these local comics, I want to run through them all on
Yeah.
the show. But you know what? Ultimately, I think little Charlie Settles is going to be my co-host.
Sweet.
Me and him have been kicking it, and I think he's going to co-host up with me. And then when we have someone, it'll be like a third, not like a third wheel, but it'll be a third person. And then we'll have like a guest too, because Charlie is, I don't know, he looks like fucking Bob Newhart. He looks like he's 100 years old almost, but he's only fucking like 20 or something. He's a young kid. So it'll be like I can school him a little bit because there's so much shit he don't know about. So,
Right.
you know, and it'll be fun. I think he'll make a good co-host. We go together good. Like I said, the late night episode was not a good representation of. When me and him usually kick it, it goes a lot better than that. But so you do painting
I
and
do
stuff like that.
painting
Where do you
and
sell some of your stuff? Just locally in the boutiques downtown and stuff like that?
No, not the boutiques downtown because I don't paint lighthouses.
Yeah, they do sell a lot of lighthouses in Traverse City, don't they?
My art doesn't quite meet Traverse City's expectations of what art should be.
That's one of the reasons online is awesome. Do you have an online site or something
No,
like that yet?
I need to get one, and we're actually
Have you checked out Squarespace? Like I'm not trying.
Squarespace?
Yeah, Squarespace.com. They
No.
they
I'm
will
gonna make
give
a
you
note
a
right now.
domain name for free basically, and then they charge you a few bucks to help you build a website, but I've started to set one up for Man Sharpens Man so that my website is mansharpensman.com. So I got the domain name for free, but now if I want to like build a website, I don't have to use them, but I can, and it's only a few bucks, and they like help you set it up. They got different like templates, and it's kind of simple.
Sweet.
You know, you just kind of drag and drop what you want, and you can just search your own desktop for whatever you need, and you can put your pictures and shit in there. And when you have a website, because my wife has one for the Sphinx cats,
Uh-huh.
like it's not like you're faking and shaking, but people really take your shit like more seriously. You see what I'm saying?
I need to get a website, but I need to figure out how I want to sell my art. Like if I want to do prints
Or original only
or
and stuff. See, I don't know
originals,
a
and
lot
I
about art
think
like that. See, I wouldn't even have never thought of something like that.
I
That is a
think
good point.
some pieces I want to do just as prints because they're favorites of mine and I just don't want to let go of them.
Yeah, I could see that. Yep, I would have never thought of that as a thing. I haven't talked to a lot of artists about art before, though.
So that's one thing I need to figure out. And prints are definitely a lot more economical to mail,
Yeah.
but there is a lot of charm and beauty in owning original art.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that's better than a piece of original art compared to a print.
I think with all things, there's got to be a good Taoist mix, and you just have to find the yin and yang of that. Because some people want a little original piece once in a while, but then the print can
Like
go.
limited
I
edition
think both.
print,
Yeah, I think
signed,
both. Yeah.
numbered.
Yep, you should definitely pursue that hard. You should go hard at that.
But we're having an art show
When?
at the Studio Anatomy. We're having a public show. It's called the Basement Art Show, and it will be Saturday, October 7th at the Studio Anatomy. And hold on, I'm
That
pulling
is
up.
right downtown for people
That
that
is
don't know where
right
Studio Anatomy is.
downtown on Front Street in the old Good News Music location.
And right next to the Gay Gin
Yup.
ramen noodle place. Like, that
Right.
fucks me up that they sell ramen noodles in the world now. It's like I used to be mixing this shit in a garbage bag in prison. Now you motherfuckers are
Now
paying
it's
top
like
dollar.
$15
Yeah.
for ramen.
Oh my jeez.
Okay,
You guys
I
are
gotta-
just basically paying for what we called cook up. After you finish telling them about this art show, I gotta tell you about some prison cook up because it is disgusting.
Okay, hold on. I'm really bad at looking at the Facebook.
Well,
and
they
it-
make it so damn. It's so much false news on there, anyhow, Jen.
I hate Okay, Basement Art Show, Studio Anatomy. Let's see what time this thing is going on. 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Saturday, October 7th. Group art show, free, and it's all ages. We'll see works.
We'll have the penises on the Davids covered up. Because it's all ages. Just put a little post-it. His dick is so small.
But it is all ages and one.
The show is not all ages. Although
No,
all
the show
ages
is
can.
all ages.
No, not this one. Not Man Sharpens Man.
No, not this one.
I mention dicks way too often.
Okay. But yes, you should come and check it out. And it's art that you typically wouldn't see in Traverse City, like
like
not
cool
lighthouses
shit. Like cool
and
shit.
not
Yeah.
pictures of the bay and
It amazes me how many people's rich wives can just take shitty pictures of sunsets and put them in frames and sell them downtown. Because that
Yeah.
shit ain't art to me.
Yeah,
Like
they
the
take
stuff
it on their iPhone
like,
and
I wish, that's another reason I wish I had a camera for this, because I'd have told you to bring a couple things, because then people could see what you do. Because what you do is hard to put into words, but you make cool shit.
thank you.
And it's not just like, you don't just like poop on a block and call it some kind of thing.
I should start them.
Start a poop on the block, yeah. Or just like splash, yeah, just a cinder block with a splash of color or something. That's all you need. Some of the art that, my dad bought a cinder. My dad, like, I make jokes once in a while about my dad being a racist, because, like, my dad's an undercover racist. Like, when Obama was in office, he definitely drank a little bit more, But when, like, I gotta give him, like, a little bit of, you should never be racist, don't get me fucking wrong, but, like,
Right.
some of the stuff he dealt with, because we grew up in bad neighborhoods and stuff, and we were, like, one of the only white families lots of times.
Yeah.
So, like, you become jaded, and that's
Yeah,
what he did over
absolutely.
time. And there was one time he came home, he had just gotten off work, and he was so excited, he had a color TV he had bought us. And he set this fucking box down, and he peeled the tape open and popped it open, and he slid the styrofoam out, and there was 2 cinder blocks in there. some black guy had sold him a box. He'd gotten like a brand new TV box and like put blocks in it and taped it shut and sold it to him like off the truck, kind of. It fell off the truck style, And shame on my dad for trying to steal some kind of hot merch,
Yeah.
But this is stuff like that definitely made him a Confederate flag posting type dude once in a while. But he's good-hearted. He means well. But it is fun. Like, it's fun to draw your comedy from your real life, and I bet you that's where you get a lot of your ideas for your art, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's so that because I see what you do, and it's like it looks like it's shit from your childhood and stuff like that. You kind of got a Robot Chicken style of doing art. Have you ever seen Robot Chicken?
I love Robot Chicken.
I do too. It's a great show. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not like she's just selling you old G.I. Joes. I'm just saying. There's probably a market for that, Jen. People are selling their dirty socks and panties. You could probably sell G.I. Joes.
Yeah, you can sell anything.
Sell anything. People are buying.
People
It's a
will buy
buyer's
anything.
market. Or
Yeah.
seller's market, or whichever way it goes. But you
Yeah.
have to. The thing is there's one thin line, and this is the thin line that I've discovered. Like, anyone in the world will buy anything for any price, but not everyone has the stick-to-it enough to put that shit for sale. Like, you gotta follow through. Like you were just saying, you gotta follow through and get your website, or at least get on Etsy or Instagram, and that first post is the one that counts the most. That, hey, check it out. Like this show, I started it on an iPad, the very first episode. If you listen to it, you might not listen to any more. That's why when I tell people about it now, I'm like, listen to some of the newer ones. I actually got a microphone and shit, but you got to start somewhere. It's walk before you fly, or crawl before you walk, or whatever.
Absolutely.
Suck before you swallow.
Yeah.
I gotta throw something gross in there once in a while. Gotta throw something. What was that dirty joke I told you guys earlier?
Oh, crap.
I have a dirty joke segment on here once in a while.
Crap,
I do a old joke segment.
Old joke. I can't remember what it was.
That
Shit.
joke was old as hell too. That joke
it was
is
an old
musty.
joke. I can't remember.
Oh, it'll come to us.
Crap.
You watch. If you think of an old joke before we're done talking, sell it. Because I usually do. Like, I kind of got away from my format because I quit doing my show for a while. But I had a little light format for a while where I did like a weed advice segment. I had like an old joke of the week or episode or whatever, where I tell like a old joke from when I was young, and I can remember my uncles telling me dirty old jokes, and or just a recent old joke that I heard. There's some classic gems. There's some gems. There's some old joke gems. Racism used to be a big joke, though. Isn't that funny? That there's so many old jokes that deal with that type of thing.
Yeah.
So many whispery old jokes. Like, I almost wish I didn't know them all, but I just know them all. They've been told to me, They were told to me at a different time in the world. It's not like I appreciated them even when they were told to me, but you see the humor in them, but it's just crazy that they exist.
Right.
But they're going away. Stuff like that is going away. It's like every generation pushes that kind of stuff out more and more and more. It's getting better. But the world's getting scary. The fucking goddamn Koreans launching missiles over people's heads and shit.
Yeah.
That's why we shy away from the news here at Man Sharpens Man. Unless I tease it a little bit, because it's some stressful mess right now, ain't it?
I can't watch the news. I gotta, I hear news secondhand from other people. So I don't even know how reliable it really is.
Well, at least it softens the blow a little bit, too.
And that makes me feel a little bit better, because I'm like, well, maybe they didn't even see it right.
I like the Buddhist philosophy of the news, where it's like, if you want the news, just look around you. Look,
Yeah.
There's the news. I'd
There's
like
the
to
news.
report that it's calm and peaceful here.
Yeah.
There's a giant green pasture and a beautiful pond, and the birds are flying around. That's the news from where we stand.
That's right.
There's no nuclear wars. There's no famine. There's no nothing. That shit does exist, but there's nothing you can do about it except for work.
No.
Work on yourself. That's the number one thing. You get yourself right,
Absolutely.
and the world will be a better place.
Absolutely.
That's my message I brought out from prison, is you can be happy in any situation. I was pretty happy in prison. I was a happy fucking dude. I stayed happy. I was always in there fucking joking around and playing, practical joking and shit. I used to do so many fucking practical jokes in there, Jen. I used to just be ridiculous. I'll tell you some funny shit. There was a old. Do you remember the DC sniper, that fucking Lee Malvo, when he was laying in the trunk of the car and sniping motherfuckers? Well, that was going on, and it was in the news, and they didn't know who was shooting yet. It had just started happening. Well, just coincidentally, I didn't start doing this because of it, but it synced up at the same time, and the names ended up together because here's what happened. I was working in the kitchen, and they have these plastic serving gloves, like what you see a motherfucker put on at Subway.
Yeah.
Well, I was taking those, and I could fill the finger of them with water and, like, pull them and stretch the fucking thing out and, like, make it so I could tie it shut and make, like, a miniature water balloon. Well, then I could walk up to dudes that were working in the kitchen, and we had to wear these loose coveralls that are all white. And I could, like, kind of bump them and do the old pocket pick move where you bump them to take their attention, and I could drop the water balloon in their pocket. Well, then when they'd get done working and doing whatever they were doing and they'd go sit down to take a break, that balloon would bust in their pocket, and they'd get a wet ass.
That's great.
So I was being like the fucking water balloon sniper, and no one knew who it was. And at the same time it was going on, the sniper shit was in the news. So they were, like, comparing whoever was doing it, because they didn't know it was me. Like, this was going on for, like, at least a week. At least a week I was the only one doing it. Well, all of a sudden, balloons started going off in people's pockets that I didn't put there. So I knew there was a fucking copycat serial water balloonist. You see what I mean? Someone else had copied me now, and I was in the kitchen, and there's other balloons going off. So now I'm checking my own self once in a while. Like, I'm like, this guy might get me, so I don't want to get got. Well, then the next thing you know, I get caught. Well, now that I'm caught, now all of a sudden it becomes like a fucking sport. Everyone's doing it. We're all trying to, like, water bomb each other's pocket. Then they take it to the next fucking level, and because it was excuse me, people, because it was one of them weird prisons where we were all in barracks, they were water bombing each other's beds, like putting one of those motherfuckers under your sheet nice and smooth, so you jump up in bed and think you have a smooth place to sleep, and all of a sudden, pop, now you got a fucking wet spot.
Oh, man.
You know what, Jen?
What?
Do you think men's prisons are bad? Women's prisons are off the fucking chain.
Oh, I wouldn't want to go to
Do not get yourself in trouble.
I wouldn't want to go to a women's prison.
I had a buddy in the men's prison. His name was Rudy Guano, and he was like one of them cops that would fucking let me do anything, basically. He'd steal juice out of the kitchen. He knew I was going to make wine. He just didn't give a shit about anything like that. And he had worked at the women's prison, and he said them bitches in there had at least 3 fucking seriously bloody fights a day. He's like, they make you guys look like cream puffs. He's like, they stab and beat, and there's just the hormones, the stuff that went.
I would not want to be in a women's prison.
Women just don't get along good enough to be in prison together.
No.
That's why monasteries are full of men. Like the monks, Buddhists will take women. They don't get along in big groups like that. You guys just don't. It's just one of them things.
No.
It's okay, John. I still love you guys.
Okay.
I'll always love women. I only love Chris exclusively, but I mean, I love women as a species, as a whole. As a whole, I miss being around women. When you're in prison for 10 years, the only women I'm around is like the guards and shit. You know,
they're probably not too friendly.
No, they're not supposed to be. Some of them were. Like, it used to fuck me up who they'd fuck to. Like, it's always someone gross. Like, there was this one dude named Luna. I'm not even making this up. He was fucking a food steward, which is one of the guards that worked in the kitchen at the time. And then he was also fucking a prison, like a unit guard. So he's fucking 2 different women at the same prison at one time.
What?
And I seen this dude naked.
Did they know about each other?
Nope.
Okay.
And I had seen this dude naked. I had seen him clothed. He was not impressive in any sort of way. He didn't have like some kind of Charleston Heston type penis with a suave accent or nothing. He just was a regular looking guy with a regular looking junk. His butthole looked regular. Like every inch of him looked regular to me. He had hair on his toes. It's just like weird how the fuck they pick. It's like, why would you pick him? Like, I don't. But guards would risk it. Girls would go in there, and girls are just lonely. Like, it's crazy what dudes in prison can get chicks to do. It's like, it's ridiculous. There's guys in there that work girls in the world for so much money. they'll have them mailing it to this guy and that guy and this guy and that guy. Because if you're buying drugs or any kind of shit in there, you got to get money mailed. You
Right.
can't just buy it with some ramen noodles. That shit ain't gonna fly. They don't have gauging prices in there. Gauging. I can't believe that place is selling ramen noodle cook
There's
up.
another place that has ramen too in town. It's called White on Rice.
Oh my
It's
god.
over on 14th Street, and they have a food truck.
White on
And
rice.
they have a food truck, and they have a location, like a brick and mortar location, and they serve ramen.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That stuff is swill. I don't even know what the hell it's made out of. Does anyone know what that is? I don't know what it
I don't
is.
know. I've never liked ramen. My mom used to make it when we were little because we were poor.
Yeah. Well, when I got to the joint, I was 17 and I was trying to put on weight all the time. And I literally, every night from the time I was 18, excuse me again, I've been drinking Monster, but from the time I was 18 until I was at least 22, every night I would I would cook, that's prison slang, I would cook 2 of them ramen noodles and eat them right before I went to bed.
Oh, so much ramen.
Yeah, and I would just go to bed with that big, full, bloated gut. But people would tell me that because I was so little, I only weighed like 110 pounds. They're like, if you want to put on weight, pig out right before you go to bed. So I was trying to do that to put on weight because
Right.
being little in prison isn't economical or whatever. It doesn't
Right.
help, When someone can chuck you across the day room, it hurts your odds in a fight. But people trust you when you're little like that because of the old saying, I trust them as far as I can throw them.
Uh-huh.
Some of those big motherfuckers in there could toss me across the yard, so they trusted me. They let me hold weed and shit like that. But still, Jen, never go to prison. Women's prison be brutal.
I don't ever want to go to
Be
prison.
brutal. Be brutal.
I don't think I'd do good in prison.
You know, the one thing I can't imagine in women's prison would be state tampons, because they got like
oh
state.
my god, I didn't
Yeah,
even think of that. I
ooh.
was thinking of the food.
State
but
soap and state food is bad,
like
but a
if
state
government
tampon?
tampons are anything like government cheese.
Ooh, oh my gosh. You won't be able to get 2 of them apart, so you'll just have to use them both. That's how I used to be with the cheese.
Stick them both in there.
Yeah, it's like I can't get these slices apart, so there's just 2 going on one sandwich.
Gross. Yeah, that's totally the way it'd be.
At least it'd be double absorbent. It'd be extra absorbent, Jen. It would work out for you.
Maybe that's why that girl's pills fell out. She was all stretched out from state tampons.
That's what it was. I cannot believe that. Yes, in local news.
And look,
In local
and
news
other
today,
stories.
I have got to tell. I was gonna bring this story up too because people gotta know about this. There was some people in our hometown here of Traverse City that were ripping donuts in the only college's parking lot. Which just that alone is fucking stupid because of course you're gonna get the cops
They
called
have
on you.
security. I
Yeah.
mean,
It is the richest, whitest college this side of the eclipse. The only reason you go there is just to say you went or something. I don't even know, but they are ripping donuts around in the parking lot, and then the cops get called. They got scales with coke on them. They got heroin in the car. They got weed bowls, needles, and when they're shaking the girl down, the big ringer is, and you already know it, is fucking pills fall out of her pussy. And bang, a bottle of pills, not just pills, like some kind of like if you turn the corner and get some fucking M&Ms, but like the whole fucking bottle of pills.
The whole shebang.
Yep, if it
Just slides right on out.
It was time release.
That would be a nice fucking. That would be a nice fucking thing. She probably thought they were suppository and just put them the wrong hole. Oh shit.
Oh,
But yeah, the
crap.
pills fell out of her. They fell out of her, Jen. And then the big question I have is I just wonder how they knew for sure they fell out of her vagina, because they could have just been like in her panties or something, right?
They
Had to have sniffed them.
They had to have sniffed
They had to
them.
have, or touched them or slid. Like,
Yeah,
oh, these
and
are
like,
a little wet or something.
These are a little wet.
Something.
Something.
Hey, dude, smell my pill bottle.
Give this a sniff. Scratch and sniff.
Oh my gosh. I feel bad for that woman. Can you imagine how she's going to get teased in jail? Because people find out your shit in jail. They know your case. Like, you can't hide that shit in jail. It comes out. So I can see they're going to give her the business. There were some people in prison for some fucking ridiculously funny shit. Like, and then you would find out about it, and you'd be like, really? You're in prison for that? Like, there was this little kid I knew named Bradshaw. Sorry, we had to light a joint, man. Sharpens Man. Jen's not smoking it; she's just watching me smoke it. But there was this dude in there. His name was Bradshaw, and everyone found out this was his case. He had snuck out of his house with his .22 rifle and shot at a couple cars going on an overpass. But he wasn't trying to kill anyone. He was just trying to shoot at a car because he was a shithead kid, right? Well, he went back home, and his grandma seen him coming in with the gun. Well, on Crime Stoppers, they had like posted that someone shot at cars from the freeway, and his grandma called and turned his fucking ass in. And it wasn't because she didn't like him. She just did it. And like she still came and visited him every couple weeks and shit. It was like one of the weirdest things. Bradshaw was a weird little fucking dude. But his own grandma turned him in, and he had 20 years. But he did.
20 fucking years?
Yep, but he went in when he was 17, and he did that bitch. Like, I met him back in the free world. He got out when he was 37 years old.
Oh,
he did the full 20.
God.
Isn't
Think
it?
of how times must have changed for him.
Oh, they changed big time. He was a crazy little... He was so funny. He was smaller than me, and I was a little ass dude. So he wasn't much smaller. Me and him were about tied for smallness, but I worked out and shit, so I was strong. He sat in his cell and, like, dorked out and read books and shit.
Mm-hmm.
So as I slowly got bigger and stronger, he kind of stayed small. And after a couple years, I had started playing a lot of prison football because we would play football in there. Well, once in a while, we'd drag his ass out to play a little bit, and he wouldn't really play. He'd, like, fake like he was running out, but he never wanted to, and he wouldn't catch the ball, and he acted all stupid. And you could tell it's because he didn't want to get tackled, and he didn't really want to play, so he would just kind of, like, half-ass participate. So we all got together one time. We're like, all right, today when we play, we're going to throw it right to his ass, you know? Throw the football right to him. So the fucking quarterback, who his name was Clay, like, and the guy guarding him just, like, lets him go because both teams are in on it. So the guy just lets him go. Bradshaw's wide open, and we're just going to tackle him once just to get him so he knows not to be scared. We don't want him to be scared. We're trying to get him so he'll play. This isn't, like, trying to be mean. We're just trying to make him so he won't be scared. So Bradshaw, he yells, and Bradshaw's wide open. He looks at him, and he's like, shit, you can tell. Clay throws him the ball, you know. Bradshaw catches it because he's like, it's right to him, and it's as soft a pass as you can imagine. Well, everyone's already encroaching on him, like 3 or 4 guys ready just to smear the queer style tackle him, you know, because they've been waiting for a while. Well, they fold him up on the ground, tackle him, and all of a sudden he starts fucking yelling. And now this guy has always sworn. He's never been opposed to saying fuck or shit or any bad word. All of a sudden he's on the ground yelling shit like, gee golly, darn it, god dang it. And he's not swearing, and he sounds weird. I think he's like reverted to his like free voice, like he just without even knowing it, he's like talking like he probably used to before the little bit of convict got in him and made him swear too much. But we looked down, and his fucking leg is pointing the wrong direction. We had like broke the shit out of his leg. We felt like such assholes. Like, we were trying to make him not scared to play football, and we fucking almost broke his leg off. That's what friendship is truly about in prison. You should see what friendship is in there. On your birthday, you get held down and beat up every year. Friendship is great in there. Oh, it's a horrible It's like a fraternity. It's like imagine if you just like locked a bunch of high school boys together. That's what prison is, basically. That's what it reverts to. So it's just a bunch of wedgies and scratching your butt and wiping it on people's upper lips and shit like that. Just a bunch of childish shit. At least it's not like girls' prison where you bitches fight all the time.
Yeah, I couldn't. No, I couldn't. I would not do prison well.
You look like you could fight good, Jen.
Oh, no.
Jen, have you ever been in a fight in the world?
I used to have this girl that was like a really big bully to me when I was in high school. When I was in high school, I got made fun of all the time, and I got picked on, and I got pushed in the lockers. I'm
Me too.
Put in garbage cans.
Me
And
too.
kids were like, and if you try, like, if anybody tried to be my friend, they'd put them in a garbage can. So nobody wanted to be my friend. So this girl, she's always like. So you had the cooties back then. She was always like threatening me and pushing me into lockers, and one day she confronts me and she like wants to kick my ass really bad, and all these people are starting to surround us, and she's like pushing me around, and she's gonna kick my ass, and I know I can't beat her up because she's a big girl. And I've seen her fight. She can totally take me. She can throw them bows, tits and elbows. So I was just like, fine, kick my ass. You want to kick my ass? You think you does that make you feel good? Fine, kick my ass. All these people are watching, and she's like, what? And I'm like, kick my ass. Hit me. You gonna hit me? Hit me. And she's like, what? And I'm like, fucking hit me. And she just folded shop? She wouldn't. Aww. She just like She wouldn't. And about 2 years later, I was in independent study, and she came home and she's like, I just want to tell you I'm really sorry for all the times that I was like really mean to you and I bullied you, and I'm so sorry I tried to kick your ass.
There's
And
a party that just wants to tell her to fuck off still, isn't there? Where it's like, that doesn't make up for it.
It's like, fuck you. Yeah, it didn't make up for it, but
Do you know how many nights I was miserable at home not wanting to go
you
to
know how
school
many times
tomorrow
I went home
morning?
and cried?
Or didn't want to go to school and tried
Oh,
to fake
I
like you were
hated
sick?
school.
Oh, I'm
I
sick.
hated school, and I went home all the time. Like, I always called
It
home
sucks that
sick.
kids can't be nicer to each other. It's just a weird thing
No,
that they're
kids
shitty
are
to each
so
other.
fucking shitty and mean. They
Yeah.
make fun of each other for everything,
Yup.
and
It's weird that we've become humans and stayed alive as long as we have. Surprised we haven't killed each other off. There's so much shit sometimes.
like
We're
kids
dealing
are
with
just
this though.
kids are just the shittiest.
I think that it's coming to light more that the bullying shit is going on and stuff. I think
Yeah.
it'll quit more and more nowadays. I think it's quitting
At
more
least
and
they're
more.
recognizing it now. When I went to school, the teachers would just be like, "Well, that's how so and so is."
Yep.
Like they'd just be like, "Well, you're the low guy on the totem pole, and that's just the way it
Exactly.
is." Like they just turn a blind eye to it. And
Same when I was in school, especially if it was like a jock or something. It's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, they're on the football
they're
team.
on
That's
the
just
football
kind of
team,
how they
or
are. They're
she's
supposed to.
she's the captain of the
Well, if you think about it, you think about a
squad.
lot of older movies, and you look at the depiction in them, and that's just how it's been in the older movies. It's like they put it in the movie, and they don't put it in a way where it's like looked down upon. It's made fun and it's funny to hang
Yeah.
the guy by his underwear on the fence and
Yeah,
leave him there. And
absolutely, or make fun of the
if
like.
you think of old movies like Porky's and shit like that, you know,
Mhm.
it's very much like that. So yeah, it's changing as the world changes. Stuff will change like that. Just be nice if in fucking North Korea they don't have the internet or shit. They don't have nothing.
They don't have the internet.
No, North Korea has nothing. I seen an interview with some kids from North Korea. They didn't know what Twitter was. They didn't know what Instagram was. They didn't know what Facebook was. They just said all we do is work and we play sports and hang out once in a while. They don't have any internet access during the nighttime. I seen this on the Science Channel. North Korea, all the other countries around North Korea are lit up like America.
Yeah.
North Korea, dark. They turn off all the power at nighttime. You're not allowed to have electricity at night. It's just like prison
That's
where they come around and they're like
crazy.
lights out, quiet town.
Lights out Korea.
Yeah, you know, one time when this is when early in my prison bit, I was watching some PBS because we only had a few channels. So PBS, I used to watch a lot of that. And Nova. Have you ever heard of Nova? It's kind
Yeah.
of like a documentary thing. They did a thing about China, and I was watching it. And there was this dude that lived in some Chinese province, and China's gotten way better now. But at this time they were, and they're still pretty bad about civil rights and shit. But this guy knocked mortar off of old fucking bricks. He made pennies a fucking day, and he lived in a fucking area that was smaller than the cell that I was living in, and I was watching a TV. This fucker had like a little old AM radio that he could tune in some shitty ting-a-tonga ping-a-ponga fucking
Yeah.
sounding thing, and he said that he saved up his money, and every 3 months he had enough that he could take a bus 7 hours across country and visit his family. And that's what his fucking routine was.
Oh, that's a horrible existence.
Isn't it? And I watched that, and I was like, and like gave me good perspective though. It wasn't the only thing, but it gave me great perspective. It's like, what the fuck am I pissed off about? It caught me right on the right day too, where it's like
Yeah.
I get free meals. I mean, I'm not getting laid. I'm not getting as much weed as I deserve. I mean, there's a few things lacking, but at the same time, I'm not scraping mortar off of bricks. If I don't want to go to work, I can tell them to suck my dick. I mean, I can just do whatever I want. It's nice and warm. Like I had so many advantages over little Chinaman there. It was
Right.
ridiculous, you know. And it's like, it's all about, you know, perspective. Where you're born at, you get pretty lucky being born in some places versus others, you know. I definitely would not want to be from North Korea right now.
No.
Not a fun time. Not a fun time in North Korea.
No fun times in North Korea.
But it would be nice to liberate them. That's the worst thing is like if we have a war with them, it's going to be a lot of suffering
Yeah.
for their people.
Yeah.
Because their people don't know that we're good people. They would think that we're attacking them.
Yeah.
They only know what they're told.
Yeah, they wouldn't know.
They don't have free media. They do not have free media. They can't listen to Man Sharpens Man and get the real deal.
No.
They can't get the real deal. Have you ever been on a podcast before?
No, I've never been on a podcast. This is my first
I
time.
busted her podcast cherry.
Yeah, this is my first time.
They have you listened to much podcasting before?
No, I haven't.
You should really check it out. It is really a cool form. Speaking of media, it's like a really cool form of new media that's like, it's been around for a while, but the word to me, like I said, I wasn't hip to computers, And the word just sounds so fucking dorky. Podcast. What the fuck could that even mean? I don't want to buy an iPod just to listen to that, you know, because I had
Yeah.
an MP3 player back before it was mandatory to get an i something, you know. You remember
Right.
when MP3 players were for us broke motherfuckers.
Yeah.
But so I didn't listen to podcasts. I didn't even think about it. But now that I've checked into a few of them, like it's a really cool fucking thing. And it's like, you know, when you're doing your art, you probably got music playing or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just the same thing, except it's like what we're doing now, where you get to listen to someone else's conversation and get a different kind of like point of view on shit. There's a bunch of different ones out there that are really fucking cool. Ones on comedy, ones, I mean, and a lot of them aren't on anything. It's just motherfuckers just like seeing where shit goes, you know,
Yeah.
because that's how it is. So you should definitely check a couple of them out. They're very cool. You know who Joey Diaz is?
No.
The fat comedian, big fat motherfucker.
No.
He's got a podcast that's hilarious. His shit is, it's called The Church of What's Happening Now.
I'm gonna write that down. Hold on.
You should make a record of it. I'll tell you
I'm
about it
gonna-
as you make a note of it. But
I'm gonna make a note.
it's him and this little fat Jew guy named Lee Syatt. And Joey is like an old cokehead comedian that's been around since the 70s. He's like a Richard Pryor kind of fucking comedian. You know what I mean? Just dirty, butt sniffer. And then he hangs out with this young kid that he got on the show, who was his producer to begin with, but then he ended up like bringing him on the show, and they're just like the two of them pretty much kicking it, and they have a guest once in a while, so it's like co-host type thing. And it's funny as shit because it's the old guy and the young dude, and it's that dynamic where it's like,
Yeah.
you know, not gay, but you know, take your little young kid under your wing, you know. And it's a pretty cool show, and they make some funny jokes. You should
So,
definitely,
The Church of What's Happening Now.
yeah, you should
And who
definitely
is
check
it?
that out. Joey Diaz is his name. If you
D-I-E-Z?
D-I-A-Z.
D-I-E-Z.
Yep.
Okay.
And if you listen to that, you will like. And you know another thing that's cool about it is he talks about his comedy career because he's a stand-up, and he talks a lot about the path and the work that he did and how he got to where he's at. Because he's at the point now where if he called any comedy club, they'd be like, "Fuck yeah, come on," you know.
Yeah.
They want him. So and he talks about that path a lot. So that's kind of another interesting side note. But also on top of it, it's just fucking hilarious because he's always just. Yeah, he's kind of dirty, of course, but it's very fucking funny.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, but there's a lot of other ones that are cool, and you can learn a lot of shit. That's what I like about them. You can like learn some shit while you're just doing some shit. There's a guy named Jordan Peterson that does. He's like a college professor, and he's got a free podcast, and it's pretty fucking cool too. But I'll definitely I'll give you a whole list of them after the fucking shit. Not a whole list, but I got like 3 or 4 main ones I listen to that are very fucking cool. You definitely gonna have to check them out. It's a cool form of medium, and like I said, for making our stand up, what we do, our little craft, this is a cool kind of a practice. Because for me, at least, when I'm talking, like I feel like I'm talking to you, but I also feel like I'm talking to an audience, even though like this isn't gonna get produced for a day, and then I'm gonna have to put it on, and it's gonna be a while before anyone hears it. They're not listening right now. It still kind of feels like someone's listening to me right now. It gives that radio feel to me. Like I get that feel. It gets that energy in the air, and I feel like it's good practice for the mic. Basically, it's good stand-up practice. It's like I said, like I was telling you before the show. More people listen to what they say. More people make podcasts than listen to podcasts. So it's not a great time to try to make a buck or nothing off a podcast. But once in a while, people pick up a sponsor and stuff, and you know that's what I always bring it up. If anyone wants to sponsor me. You need to sponsor me. You don't even got to give me money. They could just give me free shit. Give me some free shit, and I'll tell them how great your shit is. That's a good kind of sponsor. Give me like Oreos. I'd sponsor Oreos.
Oreos.
Something
Doritos,
local. I could sponsor
some
anything.
chips.
Yep, as long as it's good. I'm not going to sponsor some bad shit. I won't sponsor crappy shit. I'll sponsor your weed. I wish they would legalize weed once and for all for us, don't you?
Oh, God, that would be amazing.
They keep fucking beating around the
fucking
bush.
just get over it and do it.
Don't you remember getting taught in school that it was a free country?
Yeah.
And then you grew up and found out it wasn't?
Yeah, it was a lie.
Isn't it weird? I got jerked out of high school at the age of 17 and thrown in prison for some bullshit. And that's how I found out it wasn't a free country. It was a little more shocking way. It wasn't as subtly presented to me, but I knew young and early. I was like, this is not a land of free. Because prison is basically just a fucking slavery for the poor. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people in prison that belong in prison. But in a lot of ways, it's just like a new written way of having slavery.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's just a place where they're locking up poor people. That's all it is. You don't run into one rich motherfucker in there. You do run into a lot of people that like to pretend like they used to be rich. So on the day room talking all that shit. Being
Mm.
fucking day room gangsters, cell gangsters.
Mm.
That's what they call talking shit. They love to talk like they used to have so much sometimes. But no,
Mm.
there's no rich people in there. Even OJ just got out. Did you know
Oh
that?
no, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
OJ's out. You know what they called him when he was in prison that I think is kind of funny?
What?
His nickname was Stinky. Because he couldn't hold his bowel movements anymore and shit. So gross, ain't it?
Oh dear.
I knew it. There was this. I was in a situation one time where there was a guy that lived across the hall from us in a pole barn prison. And he had shot so much heroin in his leg that he had, like, fucking killed it. But he
Uh-huh.
didn't want to let him cut it off. So he was refusing medical treatment. But his leg smelled like something a fucking vulture should eat. And he lived
Oh.
across the hall, and people just they hated this
Can
guy.
you refuse medical treatment?
Yeah, yep, they let you refuse it in
What if
there.
you're like what if you're like very, very, very schizophrenic and need meds? Can you
No,
refuse?
you can't refuse that. They'll like sedate you and shoot you up in there. I'm pretty sure. I was at I was at a prison that had 2 units with crazy people,
Uh-huh.
and I'm pretty sure that they kind of forced those people to take medication if they didn't want to take it. But I'm not positive. I think they might have been able to refuse, but I'm not sure. I think if they did, then they got locked in their cell. There was a punishment for it.
For
It wasn't like they'd hold them down and make them take it. I think it was more like they would get a ticket for not taking it and then be on top lock for a while, and they knew they were supposed to. And they would have people on heavy shit. They used to have a thing in there called the Thorazine Shuffle.
Oh,
'Cause,
I know what Thorazine is.
yeah, it's a strong fucking drug, and that's the number one prescribed shit in there to people.
Are you serious?
Oh
Thorazine?
yeah, it's like there's so many people on Thorazine in prison, it's ridiculous.
Well, it's so you can control them that way.
Yeah, and they just fucking shuffle around.
Shuffle, yeah.
Yep, and they get so fat every time. Every
Oh
time
yeah,
they go on it, they blow up
absolutely.
like the
Any
World
of
Trade
that,
Center.
like Seroquel, Thorazine, Haldol.
Yep, those are the 3 big ones in prison that they prescribe to people.
Oh,
Actually.
Seroquel, yeah.
Yeah.
Seroquel will do it.
Yep. They
definitely.
love to dish that shit out too. It's horrible. And it just melts people's brains. I had a friend named Chuck Selby in there. This dude was smart enough that he almost escaped from a maximum security prison. Like he put together, I'm not gonna. It's a super long story, and we are already up to almost an hour, so I'm gonna have to cut this off soon. But he almost escaped from a maximum security prison. This dude was sharp as a fucking tack. He decided after he got busted for this fucking escape, he sat in the hole for a while and he came back. This dude used to work out with us. He was built like Lou Ferrigno. Like, he played the guitar. Like, I'm not kidding. He wasn't a slouch. He was like a fucking put together dude. Because I only hung out with, like, I didn't hang out with slouches in there. Like, in
Right.
there, the saying that you hang with a lame, you walk with a limp. And I lived that shit. Well, anyhow, this guy was like a good dude. Well, he decided he was going to get some Thorazine to get a buzz. So he
Oh
went.
God.
Yeah, so he goes to the shrink and gets a script for it. Well, like with any good buzz, it went from like he would eat one and then sell the other 6 days to all of a sudden he's just eating them every fucking day. Well, I didn't see him for a while because he lived in a different unit and like things got locked down and shit gets crazy in there once in a while. Well, after about 7 months, I see his ass. He's fat as fuck, can't even look at me anymore and talk to me. Like he kind of like looks off into the fucking distance when he's talking, like I just did you. Like he can't even like keep a conversation
Yeah.
going anymore. He seems half retarded,
Yep.
and he's doing the
absolutely.
Thorazine shuffle.
The
And I
Thorazine
ran into him
shuffle.
about 5 years after that, and you couldn't recognize the guy. Like you couldn't recognize him. 5 years later, completely melted him. There was nothing left of that person. Like that shit. And they just prescribe it to people in there.
Yep.
It's fucking crazy.
Yep, absolutely.
It's crazy. They don't care though. But there's a lot of people in there that are doing their entire like him. They're doing their whole life. They're never getting out. Like I don't know exactly what the numbers is, but it's in the tens of thousands of people at least that are in Michigan prisons that are never getting out.
Never getting out.
Yeah, it's not like a few hundred or something. It's a lot of people. Because if you have, there's people with basketball scores, 40 to 50s and shit like that. And if you got a life or a natural life in Michigan, your ass ain't getting out. You get flopped. Period. You aren't getting out. It's hard. It's hard to get out with a violent crime. Period in Michigan. They really make it difficult. For a lot of good reasons. But like I said, prisons are really they're poverty prisons because there's
Yeah.
like that rich rapist kid that we just was in the news. That curly haired motherfucker Brock Turner. Remember that story?
No,
Yep,
I missed that.
he was the frat boy rapist about 6 months this summer actually. You didn't hear about that?
No.
Yeah, he had raped a girl, and the judge said, well, because you're an upstanding citizen and blase splee, we're going to
Maybe
give you
I
6 months jail sentence. He got 6 months in jail. His name was Brock Turner. If you've seen his picture, you'd be like, oh, I remember
maybe
this
I did
bitch.
hear something about
Yeah,
that.
they gave him nothing for a rape case, basically, a violent rape case, and then they'd get a poor motherfucker for the same thing and give him 40 or 50 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because like with me, my case, I had an armed robbery, which people that listen to my show know that I didn't. I didn't even fucking rob anybody. I had nothing to fucking do with it, and I fought my shit. But anyhow, they gave me 11 to 20. Like that shit is retarded. 11 to 20 years.
That's
And
a
I
lot
like
of
not
time.
months. That's a lot of fucking time.
That's a lot of time.
And then when I was in there, I would see people coming in there for shit that was way more heinous than the crime I was convicted of, and they would be doing 2 to 5s, 3 to 5s. So I mean, as far as fairness and sentencing, like if you're in a big city where crime is common, the judge is numb to it, and he's used to handing out tiny little sentences. So I'd see people come in from Detroit with just the worst string of armed robberies and assaults and batteries and 3 to 5, 2 to 5, and it's like I was just a young, and a lot of it was also money. A lot of these people were like drug dealers and shit that had money on the side, so they had enough to get a lawyer and shit like that. So it's all about, the justice system ain't really that just at all.
No, it's not.
It's one of our most broken pieces of our government. It's hard to put in. I don't like to whine too much about it though, but justice system is for some bullshit. It's some bullshit.
Yeah.
Think about being a judge. You think you could be a fair judge?
I don't know. I don't know if I could be a fair judge.
That's what I mean. I don't think anyone could. I don't think anyone in the... Have
I
you ever
don't-
watched a movie? Here's a good example. Have you ever watched a movie? Of course you have. You've watched a movie.
Yeah, I've watched
Now,
a
what happens if you're watching a movie and you miss a kind of important thing in the beginning, and then it gets later in the movie? You're fucking lost, aren't you?
You're lost.
It
You don't
sucks,
know what's
doesn't
going
it?
on in-
Now, imagine if you're at a trial, and you're a jury member, and you're listening to a trial, and all of a sudden, like you got a show where your kid needs some milk or some kind of shit with your husband's going on where he can't pee right or something, and you kind of drift off and you think about that for a minute, and then you come back like you would have in a movie,
Yeah.
but you just missed that one little key piece. You don't know you missed it, so you're not going to ask to hear it again, just like you
Right.
wouldn't have known you missed it in the movie.
Right.
But later in the movie, you're going to kind of feel lost. And if later in this trial you kind of feel lost, you're not going to put your hand up and say, hey, I really don't want to say this because I'm going to look like an asshole, but I feel like I kind of drifted off a couple times. Could we start this over? No one does that.
Right.
So there's no fucking way anyone's ever going to get a fucking fair trial.
Right.
And for me to be the only person smart enough to think that, I don't think so, because I'm not that smart of a motherfucker, Jen. So I'm just saying, there's no way you're going to get a fair shake in this world. Like, my lawyers told me that as far as trials go in Michigan, there's like a 90+ conviction rate if you go to trial. Like, almost every case that goes and gets finished is finished with a fucking plea bargain. Like, even people doing life in prison, they get fed bullshit. They're like, well, if you plead guilty to this murder, and they're going to give you life as the plea bargain, but when the parole board sees you, since you took responsibility for it, you're more likely to get out. You're not going to fucking get out. It's just a lie to get you to take the plea bargain and get your poor ass in the fucking poverty prison. That's all it is. It's a crazy system, but it's one of the reasons I love having a show. Man Sharpens Man, I get to talk shit about those motherfuckers now. That's part of the reason I started. Like I said, I like to get back to it and talk a little shit about them. It's like my little get back. Now who's on top, bitch? Ain't no fun when the rabbit's got the gun. Now Little John's talking shit just for fun. See, I made a little rap there because I couldn't think of an old joke. But we're running out of time, Jen, so I'm going to wrap this up.
All right.
Don't forget, what day is your art show?
October 7th, I believe.
October 7th at Studio Anatomy.
That's the public showing.
That's the pubic showing.
That's the pubic showing.
She's going to have a pubic showing of her art.
We're going to have a pubic showing on Saturday the 7th.
Saturday the 7th.
At Studio Anatomy.
She is going to shave her stuff into the shape of an eagle. So instead of
That's
having
right.
a bald eagle, you'll actually have an eagle.
America!
Oh, that'd be a good... Yeah, you could have America. Have Donald Trump saluting you. Grab this American pussy, you motherfucker.
That's right.
That's one he really wants to get a hold of. He could take a photo shoot with that one like the little kid. Him,
Make
the little
America
kid.
great.
Have the little kid mowing it for him. Have the little kid trim up. Teach him to do some bikini waxing. All right. Well, we're going to wrap this up, Jen. Thanks for doing the show.
Thanks
for
having
Man Sharpens
me.
Man. My little sign-off is this has been Man Sharpens Man. Peace, pot, and micro dot.